Hi, and my name is Kelly Judson, and I teach AP Calculus, BC, and regular calculus here at Doherty Valley High School. And what I wanted to do is to create a presentation for those of you who didn't make it to back to school night that feel more comfortable staying at home, that would still give you all the information that you would have gotten if you were here in person, but that also doesn't distract me from giving attention to you online and attention to those on actual back to school night. So I hope that this video is convenient, that it helps you get answers to the questions that you have. And if it doesn't, don't worry, you can always reach out via email and I can help you out in that way. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let me share my presentation. Here we go. So again, welcome to Back to School Night. I'm Kelly Judson, and you're going to hear a little bit about the classes and what to expect and how to help your student tonight. So first of all, a big thank you to all of you who are a part of our PTA, who donate to our Ed Fund. We have an amazing community amongst us, and I'm so grateful to be here at Doherty because of how involved and committed our community is to our teachers, to our students, to their learning, and to the well-being of Doherty Valley as a whole. So thank you for all that you do. Tonight's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about me, and then I'm going to talk about an overview of the class. I'm going to talk about both of the classes that I teach, where you can find things and where students can find things, and then how to support your student, which is probably the most important thing you want to hear, is how you can support your student throughout the year. About me, I am originally from Livermore, California, so I grew up in the Bay Area. I was happy to come back here after I got married. I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, got my undergrad in mathematics. So I didn't just happen to fall into teaching calculus. I studied all of math, starting with calculus and that looks more like Greek than anything else. I'm well-rounded, have a strong background in the content that I've been teaching. I stayed at Cal Poly and got my teaching credential there, specific in math. And then years ago, I actually went back to school about 5 years ago and got my master's in teacher leadership from St. Mary's. So I have been teaching for 13 years. This is my 8th year at Doherty Valley. This is my home. I hope to stay here for the rest of my teaching career. I really do love it. A little bit more about me on a personal level. This picture here shows my husband, Will, my daughter, Abby. She is in first grade over at Twin Creeks Elementary. This is me. And then my son over here, my son, Jacob, he is 4. And then our dog, and she is 8. We love Bay Area sports, as you can see in our Giants gear, and we are really just happy to be living in the Bay Area. So I teach 2 classes, so you're listening to this video probably for one of these 2. Calculus, regular calculus, covers much of the content that is covered in AP Calc AB, but at a much slower pace. There's not specific standards, but there is an outline of the content that we cover in the California framework. And each semester we cover about 4 units of content. So we'll have mid-chapter assessments oftentimes, as well as end-of-chapter assessments. But we move at a very slow pace. This is the perfect class for someone to be in after they have finished pre-calculus, whether they're going off to college next year or planning on taking AP Calculus next year. I do a good mix of lectures along with group tasks, individual tasks, and hands-on activities. The other class that I teach is AP Calc BC. This class covers all of outlined by College Board because the purpose of this class is to prepare students for the AP exam in May. Obviously to understand the calculus content, but that content is defined by the companies and the people that make those exams. So you can click on that link through the slideshow to get to the College Board sort of breakdown of each individual unit. The way that we cover it here at Doherty is we cover 6 units in the first semester. Those 6 units are most of what's covered in AB with a little bit extra. And then second semester, we cover 3 units that are specific to they're the C part of Calc BC. That's series, sums, sequences, polar, parametric, that sort of topic. And then we typically spend a few weeks reviewing for the AP test, which is coming in May. This is a college level course and it moves at a college level pace. That's the only way that we can make sure that we're ready for the exam in early May. A typical week in either of these classes is Monday, Tuesday, we're going to be learning something new. Most of the time, that is me in front of the class teaching. Sometimes the students going to the board doing problems. Wednesday, Thursday, I try and pull in some activity that gets them working and practicing together, working through some of the content that they learned. Sometimes, especially in BC, there will also be a lecture on that block day as well. I like to do activities on the block day because it gives the flexibility of having extra time so we can do more in that amount of time. Fridays will typically be a short quiz day and a review of the content that we have covered in the week. Now, this is a week. Weeks may vary, especially if there's a test thrown in there during a week, then that sort of throws things off a little bit. But typically, you're going to see 2 to 3 days of lecture and activity and some sort of mini check-in to make sure that everyone is understanding the content or to help me identify those that need a little bit more help. All right, the second thing on our agenda, sort of class expectations. I like to call my class expectations the 4 Ps. You should be prompt, students should be prepared, productive, and polite. And if they're doing those 4 things, they really shouldn't have a ton of work to be doing outside of class. Even in BC, the workload is not heavy, the content is just difficult. So sometimes students might need to do something outside of class for their own personal understanding. They may need to watch a video, they may need to do some extra practice. But on a night-to-night basis, they really shouldn't be doing an overwhelming amount of homework. It's that and making sure they're understanding what they're doing. In regular calculus, there's typically 1 assignment assigned each night that should take about 20 minutes or so to do. We often get to start that during class. In terms of materials that they need, they should have binder paper or a notebook for taking notes. They should have somewhere that they can do homework and pens, pencils, highlighters, sorts of things. In AP Calculus, they need a graphing calculator in order to take the AP test, in order to do a lot of the things that we're doing in class. And I am really trying to spend the time to teach them how to use graphing calculators. In regular calculus, they need a scientific calculator. I have a lot of extras, so if a student needs one on any given day, I'm happy to loan those out. Where to find things virtually. So Schoology, our new system, has sort of what School Loop would call a locker. It's called a resources section, and that's really where most of the helpful pieces of information are going to be. The syllabus is in there. There are notes in there, a link to a calendar, the slideshows that I use each unit, where are things that are coming up. All of that is in Schoology, as well as links to a YouTube channel that has videos for each lesson that I am covering. So if a student is absent, if a student mentally wasn't able to focus during class, there is a video that they can watch that covers that section of notes. Every once in a while, I might assign watching those videos as homework, but most of the time we're going to be using class time to do notes. In the classroom, they have access to handouts. I'm pretty much printing everything I can for them so that they don't have to worry about printing things at home and adding that layer of stress. So notes are printed for them, worksheets are printed for them. They have access to what some of my students call magic binder. It is a binder with solutions to homework. It has workout solutions to the notes. They can take pictures of those things so that they are checking their work later. It's really important that they're not just practicing, but that they're making sure what they're practicing they're doing correctly. And most importantly, the thing they have access to in the classroom that they don't have access to anywhere else is me. I want to help them. I want to support them to answer their questions. So I really hope that they use me as a resource in person as much as possible. How best to support your student. This is the #1 thing for me as a parent now. I want to know how can I help ensure that my daughter is being successful, and I assume that many of you are feeling the same. Calculus is a college level class, whether it's regular or AP. So really at this point in their mathematics career, we want them to be advocating for themselves. I want them to be emailing me if they need something. I want them to be emailing me if they're absent. I want them to be reaching out to schedule time to meet with me during access to work through extra practice. So what you can do to best support your students is encourage them to do that. Encourage them to reach out to me. Check in with them. Ask them how they're doing. How's your math homework going? Are you getting your questions answered? Are you asking Miss Judson for help when you need it? Have you sort of found a buddy in class that you can work with? We do a lot of things in groups, and building those relationships is really important to me, and I hope that they learn a lot from each other. Check to make sure, asking them, are you completing your work on time? Are you participating during class? How are you studying for assessments? Are you doing practice problems? Are you making sort of like a one-page review sheet to remember what you need to know? But checking in with them is really the best way. And if you're not getting the answers from them, push them to email me. And if you're still not getting the answers you're looking for, then feel free to reach out and email me. Email is definitely the best way to contact me. Here is a link to a QR code that gives you the SRB USD homework policy. But you can look over that in your own time. That is pretty much the same for every class. So if you need anything, you can look at that. But this limits the amount of homework that your students should be having. I pretty regularly check in to make sure that we're not going over that limit. But if your student is spending hours working on homework, please check in with them and have them check in with me, because it should not be that way. A couple of things, just remember, we are using new technology with Schoology this year. We are adapting to mask policies, and things are constantly changing with us. So please be patient with me. I'm still learning a lot about Schoology. I'm still learning how to email through it, how to post grades, how to adjust things. So just give me a little bit of grace while I learn, I beg of you. Be patient with me and reach out if something doesn't seem right. Also, remember that things may change. We were asked to change really quickly a couple of years ago, and I know that I definitely am putting my all into what I'm doing, but make sure that the students seek me if they need anything. They shoot me an email if they have to stay home for whatever reason. That's totally understandable. I just want to make sure that we are connecting and staying on the same page. And then lastly, remember that we are a team. I want your student to be successful. I want you to be in the right place and to thrive and to learn to love math if they don't already. And the only way that we can is if we partner together, the student, the teacher, and everyone else that's invested in the student, to make sure that they have a success. If you still have questions, please feel free to email me at this email address. Something to notice, I teach A through 5, and I actually don't have a prep period. So most teachers, when you see their schedule, there's a period that they don't have a class. Because we were a little bit short this year, I took on an extra class. So I don't have that extra period where I am prepping. I am teaching 6 classes instead of 5. So be aware of that. If it takes me a little longer to respond to your email, I always respond within 48 business hours of receiving those emails, but it may take me some longer than you would like it to, just with the schedule that I have. And in mind too, when I'm grading things and posting grades, it takes a long time to grade 100 calculus tests, potentially 100 AP calculus tests in the same week. So just please reach out if you have questions, but no, I'm really doing the best that I can. And that's all I have for you. I hope that this answered your questions. I hope you have a little idea of who your student's teacher is, and please reach out if you need anything. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great night.